The movie begins and we are shown a scene of war. This war was happening between America and Germany, and at this time American soldiers were going to France for a mission. Their captain, Fort, gives them the mission details and tells them that they have to go to France on top of a church in France. The Germans had installed a communication tower. Because of this, the Germans always stayed 2 steps ahead and the Americans were not able to win this war. Now the Americans were going to France to destroy that very tower. Actually, at this time Germany had also occupied many cities of France. Because of this, it was quite easy for them to attack America as well. As soon as their plane starts showing up on the German radar, the German Air Force immediately attacks their plane. Their plane starts shaking violently. All of them understand that their plane has been attacked. That is why we're in their parachutes. They jump from there through the emergency exit. After that we are shown their plane crashing in the air. Anyway, the scene cuts and we see an American soldier coming out of the water whose name is Edward. Edward had also jumped from the same plane and because he had landed in Wyatt. That is why neither did he die nor did he get any serious injury. Now when he comes out of the water and appears in the forest, he realizes that many of his companions have already died. He now moves forward with the hope that maybe at least one of their companions might have survived, and finally, his hope also works. He sees that Captain Fort has survived. Captain Fort and he now start moving forward very carefully, and after going a little further they find 3 more of their companions alive. Seeing them they become very happy. These people were moving forward to complete their mission when suddenly one of their companions steps on a landmine. As soon as he lifts his foot, the landmine explodes and that soldier is blown into pieces. Seeing this they feel very sad. Now only 4 of them relift and they had to complete their mission at any cost. In sorrow they decide to move forward, and during this they see a girl in the same forest who was stealing the belongings of the dead soldiers there. Captain Fort takes her at gunpoint. Then the girl tells them that she has not come here with any bad intention. She was only stealing the belongings of these people here to fulfill her needs. They come to know that the girl's name is Chloe, and from Chloe's words they also learn that she does not like the German soldiers very much, and she also wants the German occupation over them to end. When Chloe finds out that they are American soldiers, she takes them to her own house without any hesitation to help them. When they reach Chloe's house they also meet Chloe's little brother, and after coming here they tell Chloe about their mission. They had to destroy the tower built on top of the church, and now they needed to know the way to the church. Chloe tells them that she has heard the name of that church, but she has never gone there. For some reason, not only Chloe, but no one goes there. Everyone has been forbidden to go to that place. During their conversation, Edward goes to the washroom, and when he comes out of the washroom, he hears a strange, frightening sound nearby. The sound of someone breathing did not sound like an animal nor like a human. Fearfully he follows the sound, and behind the door of the room he sees a horrifying sight. He saw that there was a woman there who looked less like a woman and more like a monster. Her entire face had boiled up. Her eyes were swollen and she could not even speak like a human. Seeing her, Edward became extremely frightened. While looking at her, he was standing there like a statue when suddenly Chloe came behind him. Hearing Chloe's voice, he became even more scared. Startled, he looked back and Chloe told him that this is my aunt. This condition of hers happened because she went inside that a church where you people are talking about going. She tells them that she had brought her aunt here from near that church with great difficulty, and the German soldiers had already killed her mom and dad long ago. During this conversation they hear the sound of some vehicles stopping outside. They immediately hide and Chloe goes near the door. When the door is opened, it turns out that German generals had come there. They enter the house in a very confident manner, and as soon as they come they start forcing themselves on Chloe. From above, Captain Fort and Edward were watching all this. From the conversation between the 2 of them, Captain Fort tells Edward, and we learn that in order to save her and Chloe had made a deal with the general. Because of that, the general used to come whenever he wanted to torture her. Even today, Chloe did not want to go near him, but the general himself was for. Seeing her, Captain Ford and Edward make a plan to save the girl, and as soon as Edward goes, he points his gun at the general's head, and taking advantage of the moment, Ford ties his hands and feet. Now Ford tells Edward, "I will handle him. You go and check the other two men, whether they found the church or not." Actually, two of their companions had already gone earlier to find the church based on Chloe's clue. But until now there was no sign of them. Edward, who was trying quickly to find the church, suddenly gets chased by a German soldier's dog. Edward runs very fast, and to save his life he sees a truck in front of him. He increases his speed a little and manages to climb into that truck. After climbing into the truck, he finally catches his breath. For a second he had no sense then. When he regained consciousness and looked around him, he was terrified. Inside this truck, all the American soldiers were dead. The very church he wanted to go inside, fate had taken him there. All these dead bodies were also being brought inside the same church. He quietly slips out while saving his life and goes inside that church. At first everything seems normal to him, but when he goes further he becomes shocked. Inside the church, a secret German lab had been built. When he enters this lab, he sees many cells inside it. Inside those cells, living prisoners had been locked up, and when he goes further, he sees that there were many dead people there as well. Some experiments were being done on them there. The limit of the Germans' cruelty does not end here. When he moves ahead, he sees even more horrifying scenes. Inside this lab, many humans had been put inside strange bags and hung up. Seeing this, he becomes very frightened, and while moving forward, he tries to open one bag, and suddenly a very strange red-colored liquid starts dripping from that bag. He sees that the human inside this lab was still alive. He was moving, and when he brought his face out, it looked exactly like Chloe's aunt's face. As if someone had poured acid and boiled his face. He looked less like a human and more like a monster. Edward sees that the liquid that came out of this bag is being further processed. From it, a specialty wipe of injection was being prepared. What the purpose of this injection was, he does not understand, so he now keeps one injection with himself. Edward now hears some voices coming from the front. He moves forward, and as soon as he removes the curtain in front of him, his senses are blown away. There lay the cut body of a woman. It would be better to say that there was only a woman's head and her spinal cord lying there, and the shocking thing was that despite all this, the woman was alive and able to speak. Seeing all this, Edward becomes so frightened that he immediately runs away from here, and while trying to get out through a bridge path, he meets his earlier companion who had already come here. He sees that this companion of his had first been caught by the German soldiers, and they had also started experimenting on him. But he had somehow saved himself. However, at this time, he was very badly injured. Edward supports him and quickly takes him out of this church and brings him back to Chloe's house. Now, after coming here, Edward tells his captain shocking things. That inside that church, not only that tower is a danger for the Americans, but inside the church a secret lab has also been built where strange kinds of experiments are happening. There are many humans there, alive and dead, on whom experiments are being done, and many humans are not in good condition. Whatever he had seen there, he told all of it to Captain Ford, and Captain Ford also becomes shocked after hearing all this. He wanted to know what kind of experiments were going on in the lab. That is why he tells his companion, go upstairs and bring that general here. When that man goes upstairs, he sees that the general is unconscious. He tries once or twice to wake him up. But when he becomes sure that he is not going to regain consciousness right now, he unties his hands and feet. The general was waiting only for this moment. He was just pretending to be unconscious. As soon as his hands and feet are untied, he quickly takes out his gun and shoots this soldier in the chest. Hearing the gunshot, Edward and Captain immediately come upstairs. Their one companion captures the general again. While they become very sad seeing that another of their companions has died from the gunshot, Edward becomes very disturbed seeing this, and then he remembers that he had brought an injection from the German lab. He had seen how dead people in that lab were coming back to life and talking. He thought that this was the same injection with which dead people could be revived. That is why he thinks for AM. Moment and then takes out the injection and stabs it into his companion's heart, and his thinking and plan also works. We see that after a few moments that man stands up alive. Seeing him alive, everyone standing there becomes extremely shocked. Even Chloe. After some moments we see that immense strength starts coming into that man's body. So much strength that his body was not able to handle it. All his veins start swelling. They turn blue and he starts taking out his strength on his companions. He grabs Edward by the throat and starts choking him. His other companions try to control him. For a moment he moved away from Edward, but now his body also started boiling like the people present in the lab, and he was repeatedly trying to kill his own companions. Seeing this, Fort fires bullets into his chest, but it is seen that these bullets are not working on his chest. They show no effect on him. He was not dying. In fact, he had become a zombie, and the American soldiers were not able to understand this. Here Edward understood that now, after coming back to life, their companion was no longer theirs. For some reason he was supporting the Germans, and this could also be because of the effect of those injections. That is why he now hits his own companion on the head with the backside of his gun, and by hitting his head again and again he crushes his head and finally kills him. Now the German and general who was watching all this takes advantage of the moment and secretly tries to escape from here, and while leaving he also takes Chloe's brother with him. When these people hear the noise they try to stop him, but the general escapes from their hands, while leaving the bullet that Captain Fort had fired also hits his face, because of which one entire cheek of his had blown off. But even after that he ran away from here bearing the pain. Now these people had become extremely stressed. Earlier they had only one mission, which was to destroy that tower, but now Edward makes the captain realize that more important than that tower is destroying that lab where those strange experiments are happening. The captain understands Edward's point very well, and here they make a plan that now they will complete their mission as soon as possible. First they will destroy that lab and then the tower, and then return back, and in all this they also ask Chloe for help because Chloe's brother was also there, and they also had to save Chloe's brother. The scene cuts, and now we are shown the German general who, as soon as he reaches the lab, injects that injection into himself, and here a scientist tells him, "What have you done? Do you even know what this is?" He says, "This will make you mad. These injections are only to revive dead humans, to make them such monsters who themselves never die but kill their enemies." From their conversation we learn that this lab was actually preparing to create such a German army that no one would ever be able to kill. They had even captured all the American soldiers and injected them with these injections and revived them again. And the humans who were inside those bags, their blood and antidotes were being set through experiments on their bodies to prepare these injections. The scene cuts. We are shown Captain Fort and all his companions outside. They had now reached the back side of the church. After that, Captain Fort explains his plan to everyone, and they all get to work. Captain Fort climbs on top of the church and goes to the radio base camp, while Edward goes inside the lab from below. Now Captain Fort had planted a bomb inside the radio base camp, while Edward had planted a bomb inside the lab. After doing this, they were just about to come out when the general appears in front of the captain. At this time, that general looked extremely terrifying. Half of his face was cut off through that injection. He had made himself so powerful that no soldier could stand in front of him. What chance did Captain Fort have? Captain Fort is defeated within just a couple of attacks. Now the general drags Captain Fort by hand and brings him near the lab, because now his intentions regarding Captain Fort were not good either. When Captain Fort sees that he has become helpless, he picks up an injection lying nearby and without thinking injects it into himself. Captain Fort knew that because of this his mind might not remain under his control. He might start killing his own people, but for the moment this general was in front of him. He starts unleashing all his strength on that general. And in this way a very terrifying battle of strength is shown between the two of them. On the other side it is shown that one of their other companions was helping Chloe at this time. Both of them were moving forward very carefully to find her brother. Finally, on a bed inside the lab, Chloe finds our brother tied up. Chloe quickly frees her brother and leaves from there while her companion now comes to Edward. Here Edward sees Captain Fort and the general fighting and considers it foolish to go near them. Now he had understood everything, that these people had become zombies. He knew that zombies can either be killed by hitting their heads or by burning them with fire. Thinking this, another idea comes to his mind. He sees an oxygen cylinder kept there and shoots into it. This cylinder was very close to the general, and because of the blast that happens, the general's body explodes and gets destroyed, while Captain Fort does not get harmed much. Edward quickly comes and tries to take Captain Fort away from here while saving him. But Captain Fort frees himself and locks himself inside a cell because he knows that he has now become a zombie and there is no telling what his mind might be. On the other side we are shown Chloe and her brother. They were trying to escape through the air vent when suddenly a zombie attacks them. He comes very close to Chloe. Before he could bite them or take their lives, Chloe places the gun in her hand under his neck and shoots him 2 or 3 times. Bullets go into his brain and he also dies. After that, Chloe and her brother get the chance to escape from here. The scene cuts again and we see Edward and Captain Fort. Here Captain Fort was giving Edward some strict instructions. What those were we are not shown, but in the end it is revealed that Captain Fort was refusing to leave from here. Outside we are shown that the German soldiers had found out that the American soldiers had entered the lab. They were now firing bullets rapidly and killing the American soldiers. Seeing this, Edward goes outside and starts assessing the situation. We were not only living German soldiers there. Now many dead soldiers were also coming out who had been revived through the lab experiments and had become zombies. Seeing them, Edward does not fight them but simply presses a button and blasts this church. Edward knew that all these zombies would burn to death in the fire because he had installed many bombs at once. There is a huge explosion here. The church, the lab built inside the church, and along with it the communication tower built on top of it also gets destroyed, which the Americans wanted to destroy, and in the end in this way all the German soldiers are killed. This news soon spreads among the people of the city, and the people of the city start celebrating as well because the Germans had also held them captive. Everyone had now come out of their homes, and through their eyes they start thanking Edward. In the movie's post-credit scene we are now shown Edward back in America. Edward's seniors now ask him questions about that lab, but Edward clearly denies and tells them that he did not see any lab there. They had only gone to destroy the tower, and they destroyed the tower and returned. It turns out that Edward had lied to them about the lab not existing because Captain Fort had told him to do so. Because both Captain Fort and Edward knew that in order to win wars humanity disappears from humans, and if the Americans came to know about such a lab then they would surely start doing such absurd experiments which they did not want to allow. Because Edward also knew that if even a single zombie once came into this world then it would not take time for the zombie virus to spread and for humanity to die. In this way one lie of Edward saves all humanity and his mission also gets completed, and with that being shown the movie ends right there.